At the time, it was 2016, and there was not the representation you see today. Like disabled folks, trans folks, black models, Latinas. And when we say Latinas, that's something I was thinking about a lot today. It's like when people talk about Latinas, they're not really referring to the gambit that is Latinas. They're really referring to mestizos, you know? But when they pick the ones that get represented, they're picking the white ones, and then they like to erase the black ones. So, but they're really talking about mestizos and indigenous or like indigenous adjacent Latinos, you know? That's what they're talking about, because we're like 60% of the population in any given Latin country, you know?
Right.
And so I was like, there's no representation. I really want to tell black and brown stories, you know? So that's what I kind of like stuck with. Like, can I tell black and brown stories? Am I telling black and brown stories?
What's good, familia? It's your girl, Odalis Jasmine, and this is Hella Latino. I'm excited to have you because I remember the first time we met.
Last time we met, technically.
Was the last time we met. But we were at the TikTok office and you were like, oh yeah, I'm leaving, like last day. And we had a conversation for like, 15, 20 minutes? Because like we were both rushing somewhere, or I was rushing somewhere. And I remember just feeling like I need to know more about her story. And you know, there's some things that you don't ask like day to day, like, oh, tell me about your parents' lives and your traumas and all the things.
But the vibe was there. No, it was good. And then we ended up sitting down on the couches, on what TikTok would call the couches, that are not ergonomic either. But no,
they're like,
we talked for a while, and then it was like, okay, let's hang out. And I've seen you a couple times since, but it's like tough to find the time. I feel like you travel a lot for work too.
Yeah, and you're busy.
Yeah,
and you're so busy. So we're going to talk about that. But I want to start with the first question.
Okay.
I start every podcast episode with it. How do you identify and why?
How do I identify? Like Latina?
Like how you identify?
Oh, yeah. Cis, hetero, Latina,
do you actually identify like that?
I mean, I think I'm identified as that, you know, but that's interesting because like that conversation, that's a great question. Because some people don't, you know.
Yeah,
I think because there are identifiers that don't explain enough, and there's limitations. That's why it's a great question. I'm just like regular schmegular girl from San Diego, so I'm like I'm Peruvian-American, I'm a child of immigrants, I'm Latina, I'm Latin, and you know it seems like simple enough, but there's like 17 different things I said.
Yeah,
right?
It's funny we do that, right? Like, oh yeah, it's just regular schmegular, and then you list out like all the things.
17 hyphens. I was like writing the bio for you, and I was like Peruvian-American, first gen, child of immigrants, you know, and it's like, this is crazy.
You know, what's funny about this question to me is that identity also evolves, and it's almost like you get these like badges and pins the more the years go by. Because when you're young, you're like, no one's asking you that question and you're not thinking about it.
Right.
Like, I didn't even know what first gen was until I got to college. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm first gen.
Do you want to hear something crazy? So I went to, this is a funny story, but so I went to the pre-school that's part of San Diego, and it's first generation to go to college, right? And it's like basically for like academically gifted hood kids, and they would bus you out to La Jolla, and you had to be low income, you had to qualify for free lunch, your parents had to have not gone or graduated from college. So that's what I was used to from 6 to 12. And so when I went to college for the first time, I was in a room with like this, like, it was like a history section, and this kid was talking about how his dad's a doctor. And I was like, how can you go to this school? Like, it didn't cross my mind that like the university is not the same.
Oh, you thought they were all from the hood, bust out.
Because I was so used to like, hey, everyone here has to be first gen, you know, strive to make it. So I'm like at UCSD in La Jolla with some like rich Indian kid. And I'm like, what do you mean your dad's a doctor? You can't go to the school. Yeah.
Wow. Wait, so your school, you went to La Jolla?
So I went to the pre-school that's in La Jolla.
Paint the picture of people, because they might not know, like La Jolla, San Diego, like the hood. So, people don't even believe San Diego has a hood, and it's like,
they don't believe it has a hood. Well, because even the Section 8 has manicured landscape lawns, you know. So La Jolla is a very wealthy coastal enclave within the county of San Diego. It has its own city, right? And it houses UCSD. And then I think it's like rule of thumb is if your city has a UC in it, it's probably in a really rich, predominantly Jewish neighborhood. So UCLA has Westwood, right, which is predominantly Jewish,
Yeah.
very small, very rich neighborhood, right? So
Yeah.
UCLA is the middle of that. And then San Diego, it's UC San Diego and La Jolla, which is like beautiful. You like hike down to surf and everything like that. And then it's like gorgeous. And then there's like, you're taking, you know, up until I think, like 3 years ago, there was no trolley, like no metro that would take you straight to the campus. So I'm like,
Yeah.
that's crazy, you know?
And you're from Southeast.
I'm from Southeast San Diego. It's true.
Yeah. And that's what we bonded over. We're like, oh, you're from South.
Yeah, there's like
You're like,
three
you're
of
from
us.
San Diego, but like, we're in San Diego.
Because people be saying that, and then you're like, where are you from? They're like, Carlsbad.
Yeah.
That's where the doctors live. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't-
The
in
Indian
San Diego.
kid, that's where his dad lives.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. That's where he was at. I'm like, So basically, so I grew up in Southeast San Diego. I moved around a lot as a kid in San Diego. So we lived in Poway. We had like an idyllic childhood for like 3 years, and then
I was like, Poway.
yeah, it was nice when I was a kid. It was like the circus was across the street from
El
like, where we
Rancho.
lived. It was cute. Yeah, there was like all this, and then we moved. It was like back to the ghetto you go from next Friday, and it was like we lived in Linda Vista, and then that's like a predominantly Asian neighborhood, and then it was like Cambodians and Vietnamese Asians.
Yeah.
Not
And Laos.
Laotians. Yeah, it wasn't there were no doctors there.
Yeah.
And then there was then after that we like moved to like basically Southeast San Diego, where it was J Street and 33rd. My dad had his house on like Logan and 47th. Yeah, right.
Oh,
before
she's
National
on
City.
47th Street. Let me not do the hands.
Yeah, I know.
Let me not
Hands down,
do-
hands down. Yeah. So, but my parents had a small business. So that's kind of why I was always in Logan Heights. So my parents had a business on Imperial and 27th.
Yeah.
Right between Logan Heights and Sherman Heights, and down
Very
the street
Latino.
from Barrio Logan. Yeah, exactly. Which is very gentrified now.
Yeah.
Scary.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Weird. It's weird. I took my parents recently to Barrio Logan. There's a coffee shop called Provecho, and it serves Honduran coffee. And so we went, and my dad was like, the people that are here, like, what?
Were they
What?
all like Pilates granola?
Oh,
moms
they
and
were
stuff?
all like hipsters, and he was like, you would not see anybody walking the streets of Barrio Logan. Like, it's crazy. And he made a joke with the coffee shop, the barista. He was like, I haven't been here in years. And he's like, really? He's like, yeah, the last time I was here, my cousin got shot. And then,
Last time I lived in Southeast, my
No,
neighbor
but
got shot.
but it's so funny because he was like, oh, okay. Did not know how to take that.
Do you remember? Okay, do you remember Barrio Logan had Porky Land?
Yeah.
It was like the carnitas chicharrón spot, and they made so much money. They were so successful. They moved out of the hood and went all the way to like Del Mar, Carmel Valley. So they started catering in La Jolla, and so when I was like at the university in La Jolla and they got catering, it was from Porky Land. So they like reverse gentrified.
Oh, wow.
So that whole where Salud was at, that
Yeah,
corner
yeah,
that used to be
yeah.
Porky Land, and they moved all the way up to North County.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. They reverse gentrified.
They
It's
reverse
crazy.
gentrified.
Tell me about your parents, though, the immigration story. Why did they immigrate? How much of it do you know? And why San Diego?
So my parents immigrated at the end of like I think like 1981. So there's a whole thing about the Peruvian diaspora, right, where it's like communism was like really like ramping up, and by communism, not so much like the Marxists, like everybody eats, everybody gets food. It was more of like that we're gonna bomb banks,
Yeah.
and so they were infiltrating the universities. So my mom was a law student, and my dad's older, so like he was working in I think it's like the Social Security Administration office, and they were like blowing up banks and like infiltrating the universities. My mom was like, this is not a good place to be. Half of her brothers were already in the US, so they actually got married and left on their honeymoon, and they never came back.
Stop.
Isn't that crazy? They're still in their honeymoon and they're not even married anymore.
They're still here.
So much drama.
They're still here.
So they got married and like went up LatAm. So they went to like through Colombia, they went through Mexico City.
Wow.
Yeah, the first time my mom saw someone eating like tortillas and tacos was in Mexico, and she was like, what is that?
Yeah.
Like, you want to know something crazy?
Tell me.
We would eat like pupusas and everything. There's a pupuseria in San Diego that we'd go to, and I learned to eat like my mom, so I use a fork and knife. I
Girl.
know. Apparently it's weird, but my mom always eats with a fork and knife.
Wait, what pupuseria in San Diego?
El Salvadoreño.
That's my mom's
Yeah.
best friend. She's the owner.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
man, they've been through it.
They've been through it.
that woman
1996.
It's a guerrera, dude.
Dude, she's
Yeah.
bomb. She's
Yeah,
bomb.
yeah.
That's my mom's BFF.
Well,
It's
shout out
so
to the
cute.
señora because
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Logan Heights is like you're in a little tiny store, and then once you get big enough, you move to the store next door.
Yeah,
that's what they did.
Yeah,
they just
that's
moved
exactly
like one
what,
door over.
Yeah, and it's so funny because you remember it as a kid. Like it did not look like how it looks like right now. No. But I love to see our people expand and our people win. And she's so funny. She's like, I didn't even want to do these menus. Like those menus are new
really?
Too. Yeah, but she's like,
well, because you go there, you know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it's like,
the caldo de pollo's fire with the
fried
little
salpicón. That's that's a Central American dish. Salpicón. Get it next time.
Okay, I know. I'm thinking about it. Last time we wanted to go, they're like, oh, the line's gonna be too long. I'm like, I guess, but it's also weird too to come to LA, and I'm sure there's more places, but I'm like, I don't know which one's my place.
Yeah.
So I just like go back to San Diego. And
yeah.
I pick my place.
Feel like I have my place. But I love that they landed in San Diego.
Yeah. Oh, so this is what happened. They crossed the border in San Diego. My mom's brothers lived in Orange County, so they went straight to Orange County. Oh, and that's where they landed for a couple of years. They had my sister there, and then they moved around. And so my mom ended up working as a property manager. That's why we know our rights. Yeah. Because my mom became a property manager for a company.
That's real.
Yeah. But first, this is interesting. So first they worked like odd jobs. Obviously, my dad came from like having gone to school, being an accountant for the government. He came here cleaning toilets at McDonald's. Yeah. Yeah. And my mom had to come in. She worked at a silk print screen company for a little bit. Wow. And so they had to kind of like work, their way up. And my mom was like cleaning houses with my sister, who was a baby at the time. And then I think my mom was just like, can't do this. Like, got to keep going. Because she was like a law student, and she was like, nope, we got to figure this out. She was like learning English, everything. At one point, my dad worked for like a glass company, and they got sent to Epcot Center to build it. So there's pictures of him with like, there's like, Shamu tanks have like that big glass. There's like pictures of him with like crystals. I'm like, damn, my dad helped build Epcot.
That's so crazy. Funny. Yeah. And so they just kind of like stayed.
They love Southern California. My mom ended up getting routed to Coachella. And people are like, Coachella. I'm like, no, Coachella is actually like a migrant town. It's very poor. There were, I don't know if it's changed in 35 years, but when she was pregnant with me, there was no hospital. So they had me in Palm Springs.
Stop.
Which is a little bougie.
Okay, bougie.
It's a little bougie. But I never lived there.
It's foreshadowing.
My mom was like, fuck that, let's get out of here. So she like hated Coachella. It's very hot, very sad, and she had to deal with
rancho,
a lot of,
no? It's like a
desert migrant farm work kind of vibes. And so she had to do like a conference in San Diego, and she's like, it's beautiful here, we're moving here. She put in a transfer. When I was like 11 months old, we moved out there, and we moved to Imperial and 65th. Oh, no, that's a ghetto. That's where the Barrel Taco Shop is.
Yep. Just anything on Imperial.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I know.
If you buy Imperial, you there.
Yeah,
you're in the hood.
You're in the hood when you're there. Yeah, for real. There's some funny stories there for sure. But so that's why we moved around in San Diego, but we stayed the whole time. It's hard to leave once you're there.
It's so hard to leave. And that's exactly why I wanted to leave. Like when I got the opportunity in college, like to leave San Diego, I'm like, I want to see what else is out there, because it's easy to get comfortable. It's easy to get comfortable there.
And you went to the Bay.
And I went to the Bay.
Did you just randomly pick that, or you like went to visit first?
So I have like detachment, like not detachment. Like I'm so attached to my family, or I was at the time. Shout out to Independence. But I was super attached to my family. Youngest of 7. Like I didn't know how to be on my own. Yeah. And my brother had gone to San Jose State, and I just followed him.
Oh,
I was like,
that's cool.
I just want to be like right next to you. He hated it. He's like, get away from me.
Wait, how many years apart are you?
We're 6 years apart.
Oh, but he was like up there just chilling.
He was up there just chilling, and he had
to be around. Come on, man. You
That's
gotta be a big
what I said. Because he was the one that told me to go to college. I was like, no, I'm just gonna not, like, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and it was so expensive. He got like scholarships, grants. Like he's just so smart, and I was like, how am I gonna do it? And he's like, you know what? You should do PR. I have a few friends that talk a lot and they write a lot, and they're kind of like you. So do it. Yeah. And I'm like,
or I could be an engineer.
Okay. No, but I did it. I went into the PR. I had no idea what it was. Okay. I remember going into that space, and everyone's like, yeah, I want to be the next, like, what's that girl
Karen
from?
Civil?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be Karen Civil.
Everyone. And I was like, who?
Who is that? No, I get that. But
I mean, I found my way to comms, to marketing, to now content strategy. So it worked out. She said product placement. But I want to talk about music. Did you always know you wanted to be in music?
I did.
Like, I want to know how that journey happened.
Yeah, this is crazy. So growing up, obviously, like, I wasn't like, you know, we had obviously Napster, LimeWire, all that. We would burn our CDs, get like, just request our friends to put reggaeton on it. Yeah. Look up Daddy Yankee. We wait for the call out on the songs to be like, Zion and Lennox, that's the name of the artist. Okay, let's burn that CD. And so I never felt like I was like ahead of the game. I never felt like I was like, we used the MP3 players back in the day. Like, I felt like I was like, whatever music comes my way, I'm going to hear it. Yeah. But it wasn't until I was in grad school. So graduated from UCSD. I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. Didn't want to be a lawyer. I think about it sometimes, though.
I can see you being a lawyer.
I got myself an LSAT book for Christmas. I'm like, maybe I'll dabble.
Not for Christmas.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? Let me just in case I want to do this. But
I can really see that for you.
Yeah, it could happen. You know, you can do anything. Yeah. So I was working at UCSD, and I was like, man, I hate this, like, comfort zone, everything like that. You know, I really want to do something interesting. I think I'm meant for more. And I had worked in the health system. I'd worked with cancer patients. I'd worked, the last job I had was the fundraising department, like advancement at UCSD, which was like probably one of the best places I've ever worked. And I was like, okay, I want to do something interesting. What can I do? At the time, everyone was doing marketing. Yeah. So I was like, you know what's different than marketing? PR, complete opposite. And so I started looking at programs.
So you wanted to be different. You're like, everyone's going over there. Okay, I want to go over here.
Yeah, there you go. You know, scarcity in the business or in the market. And so I applied to USC's program, the Annenberg Public Relations Strategic PR program. And I got in, and I was like, oh, that's crazy. Like, I didn't think, you know, every dog has a day in the sun. Yeah. And so I got in, and that's when I moved to LA. And so when I was there, I was like, well, what do I really want to do? Because I really do believe, like, if you are tunnel vision about your goal, or if your goal is like tunnel vision, you're probably going to be really rigid and unhappy. Yeah. You know, your goal has to be more of a meaning thing and more of like a North Star, right? So I was thinking about it, and at the time it was 2016, and there was not the representation you see today. Like disabled folks, trans folks, black models, Latinas. And when we say Latinas, that's something I was thinking about a lot today. It's like when people talk about Latinas, they're not really referring to the gamut that is Latinas. They're really referring to mestizos, you know? But when they pick the ones that get represented, they're picking the white ones, and then they like to erase the black ones. So, but they're really talking about mestizos and indigenous, or like indigenous adjacent Latinos, you know? That's what they're talking about, because we're like 60% of the population in any given Latin country, you know? Right. And so I was like, there's no representation. I really want to tell black and brown stories, you know? So that's what I kind of like stuck with. Like, can I tell black and brown stories? Am I telling black and brown stories? And then, so I started interning first at the LA Rams. I did like a sports internship. I was like, this is not for me. Like, it's not for a lot of people like me. And then I did a multicultural marketing internship at Universal Pictures. And that was cool. And that was when it was starting to grow. And I was like, who's Maluma? Who's J Balvin?
Now who's Maluma?
Yeah, it was 2017. It was like, what is this? Like, Felices los Cuatro, I think was this. Yeah. And then it was J Balvin had Mi Gente, and Beyonce jumped on it. Yeah. Yeah. It was that era.
No one gives J Balvin enough credit. He was the one. He was the one that made that
in the new era. Happen. He ushered in Colombian reggaeton. That's what I'll say.
He did.
That's what I'll say. Because so the thing is that people don't know, like, so reggaeton blew up. It's 2004. Oye Mi Canto comes out, right, with Nori and Daddy Yankee. And everyone's like, what is this sound? This is amazing. Nina Sky.
Before that, though.
Well, it's been around, but it didn't go.
Because Tego was big.
Well, yeah, but it didn't go into in the general market.
Oh.
Yeah, nobody was. They weren't listening
like
to
commercial
Tego.
Market.
Exactly. Okay. Like when Oye Mi Canto came out, it became Gen Market. Yeah. Like MTV played it. Yeah. You know? So it wasn't like for the LimeWire girlies. It was like, oh, okay, this is like playing on VH1 and it's playing on MTV. Yeah. Right? And so you have like Gasolina comes out, all these other songs like follow, right? And so Daddy Yankee is like kind of seen as the one who ushered in like the commercial sound. But then by 2009, it hit a slump. And EDM
I remember
blew
that.
up, right? And because I was in college when it was like Skrillex, dubstep, freaking... who else was like Calvin Harris blew up a couple years after that. Yeah. And so it was like the dark days of reggaeton, as I like to call it, like the dark days. But then back in 2015, it started blowing up again. And people think it blew up because of Despacito, but it blew up because of Enrique Iglesias Bailando.
Really?
Bailando.
Oh, yeah.
That blew Latin music back. It started like bubbling again. And then Despacito came and... right, Justin Bieber jumped on it, blew up, right? And so this was starting to happen again, and I was like, oh my god, are we like back in like the Renaissance? Yeah. So there was one internship left. Well, there was time to do one more internship before I graduated, and I had been like interning at like a TV station at the time, and I was like, oh, like I hate this, I want something else. And I was in my last semester, and I'm like, okay, looking at the job board apps, getting super aggressive. Apple Music posted that they had a Latin music internship. So I was like, cool, let's go, right? I'm like, I don't even remember, like, you know, because when Kendrick Lamar released Damn, I listened to that shit on like repeat for like 3 months straight.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. I was listening to nothing else.
Yeah. We Kendrick fans here.
Yeah, we have Kendrick. Someone a Drake fan in our midst? No kidding. And so what happened was I was really aggressive because I had done another interview at the Beats by Dre like department before that, and I didn't get that internship, and I was kind of sad about it, but I felt like the vibe was off. I also expected there to be more black people.
Really? And there wasn't?
No, the 2 interviewers were white girls, and I was like, I think they knew that I was thrown off.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was expecting.
You're like,
yeah, and I saw Octavia Spencer in the lobby too, so I was like. Octavia Spencer, the actress, right?
Yeah.
I saw her in the lobby, and I was like, oh my god, I think she knew that I knew that.
Yeah, everyone's just kind of looking at each other.
So
like,
she gave me a little and laughed, and I was like, oh my gosh. So like, I didn't get that job, and I was like, okay, but I was in touch with the recruiter, and so I was like, hey, I see this Latin music internship. I'd love to throw my name in the hat. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
And I got the interview, and so before that, I was preparing, right? So you have to prepare for your interviews. People don't know that. I've interviewed people before, and they don't use the product that they're interviewing for.
Oh.
I'm like, you got it. If you're trying to work at Apple, you better use Apple.
Yeah. Period.
What do you mean? You're in an interview talking about I only use Spotify. Come on now. And vice versa. If you're going to interview at Spotify, you better use the product and believe in it.
I don't know who uses Apple Music.
Honestly, it's such a better platform. Shout out to my boy Danny at Spotify though, because he's my boy and he supports a lot. I tried using Spotify again, and I'm like, dang, this thing is hard to use.
No, I think Apple Music's super hard.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But you know, I've been a Spotify girl.
I was a Spotify girl before. Maybe I need to pay for the premium, huh?
Yes. Yeah.
So what happened was I pulled out my old iPod, the one that has a swirly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I went through, and this is a story about how Julian Alvarez got me my first job in tech.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was scrolling through my old podcast. I mean, my old iPod, and I was like, okay, I need to.
I love that you said scrolling.
Yeah, I was like scrolling, circling.
TBD.
Right?
TBT.
Remember when the click started too? I was like, oh, that's amazing.
Yes. I had the shuffle where you can shake it and it would change the song, and I thought it was like epic. It's like, yes.
Dude, that was crazy technology. I'm telling you, that's nuts.
When the video came out on the phones.
Oh.
Game changer.
Did you remember when internet came out on the phone?
I actually don't remember that moment.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I don't remember that moment.
It was like the sliders and then
the sliders. Oh, I had the slider for a minute. I was so like anti. I don't want to get an Android and then I got it.
Yeah.
But
I just flip phones. I hear flip phones are back too a little bit too. Like I hear that
everything's
some of the kids
back.
like
the digital cameras. That's like a thing now.
I have
like,
little, you know. They're about to bring the 35 millimeter back or whatever that is. So anyway, so I was studying my old iTunes and my pirateado shit too.
Wow.
From 2005, 2006, 2007, like from 10 plus years before that, because I'm like, well, what did I listen to growing up?
Yeah.
And because I grew up like, you know, in a border town with like all Mexican friends, like we would go to Pulgas in Tijuana and we would go for Fidel Breda, and there was Julian Alvarez was on my iPod, and Tigres del Norte, not as much Tigres at the time, but Tucanes de Tijuana, all of that was on my old iPod from when I was a kid. I was listening to Chalino Sanchez when I was like 15, 16, and I'm like, I'm Mexican. Yeah. So I was studying all that, and when I interviewed, the 2 interviewers, one was Cuban and did the Urbano and shout out to Jerry, he's the best. He did the tropical side of the programming, and then the other programmer did Mexican music and Latin pop. And she asked me, she's like, okay, you know about like obviously reggaeton, grew up on Daddy Yankee, all that. She's like, but what do you know about Mexican music? And I was like, oh, you know, I grew up listening to, you know, Julian Alvarez and blah, blah, blah. And she told me later that she's like, once you said Julian Alvarez, she's like, I knew.
Wow.
And I'm like, ooh, shout out to him.
Right.
You know? And now he's like, he's a huge icon in Mexican music. He blows up all the time. You know, so that was kind of how I got into music, but it wasn't like, I guess predestined. It was more about the same vein of like, are we going to tell black and brown stories here? You know, and that's how my time at Apple like really started. And once I was at Apple, it was like, okay, I want to be at the intersection of culture and technology.
And what does that mean to you, being at the intersection between culture and technology?
Yeah, some people talk about art, the culture of art and technology, and they talk about like, you know, engineering and all that stuff, and like the creative side, but to me, I was like, what's really important to me? And like, obviously technology to me is like the future, right? It's the present and it's the future.
Yeah.
Culture, that's the biggest thing. I'm like, and I don't want to like co-opt the word, but thinking about like what's actually relevant to people and people of color specifically, right? Because it's like the biggest, I think, selling point for me once I moved to LA and worked in entertainment was the fact that I was Latin, which is usually the opposite. It's like you don't get a job because you're Latin. Yeah. You know, but it was like, oh, you're Hispanic and we want to jump into the Hispanic market. Let's hire this intern. That's how it was when the LA Rams first came. They were their second year in LA when they hired me. And they would ask me like, hey, is this culturally relevant? Hey, what do you think about this? Blah, 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 you know? And so when I thought about like, well, what does that look like? Like, how do I bring in culture and like what I believe in, what I'm an expert at, right? And what I live, breathe, eat, and intrinsically am into this technology space. And it's like, it's content, it's live streaming, right? It's music streaming, it's, you know, movies and film and anything that's original content, but that's intrinsically us, right? So that's what I think about. It's like anything that we're creating in this digital space is at the intersection of culture and technology.
I feel like this is going to be maybe a question that we all need to explore, but there's so much about representation, but it's always so, it's just like this like one-dimensional representation sometimes. And maybe it's different in music because music is just different. But when you're talking about like culture and technology, I feel like sometimes Latinidad is, like you said, mestizo. It's centered around like a very specific narrative or a narrative that they know is going to pop off. So it's a lot of like Mexican stories, or it's a lot of like maybe Puerto Rican stories or Caribbean. Like, what about the stories of just the Latino diaspora and like the Latinos that exist day to day, that are not in these pockets, that are not the Mexican con los sombreros or celebrating Cinco de Mayo, but they're Latinos that are first generation. I feel like that's what's missing, right? It's like our stories.
Yes. So it's interesting because I also think about like the Black community, right? So I have a good friend that works at Apple, and she's like, you know, my family's Jamaican. She was raised in Boston, and she's like, the HBCU experience, I don't relate to that at all. And I was like, oh, you know, I was like, oh, okay, I get that, right? Because to some degree, it's like I don't technically have anything that I can relate to in terms of like the New Yorican experience, right? Or like the Mexican and Texas experience, except living in a border, right? And so I think for me, and this is maybe something that you can identify with, it's the being a minority within a minority, you know? Yeah. And I do feel like because you're a minority within a minority that is especially now being villainized and persecuted, there's also privilege in that too. So for example, like I've always been like the taken in by Mexican people. They've been my biggest supporters. Like they've been like my second or first family sometimes, you know?
Plus one.
Yeah, my parents' clients have always been predominantly Mexican and Central American. There's not a lot of Peruvians in San Diego, right? And so like they've been in a community that's taken me in, right? And I love them. Like I tell people all the time, like I love working with Mexican artists. I love working with Mexican people. Like they've been like the biggest supporters of, you know, like my
They've also
experience.
been like the ones that carry the culture. Like they've been holding it down for a long time. And I tell people you can't talk about the US without talking about Mexico. 100%. Like the border crossing to Mexico, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Let it be known.
There's a lot of that, right?
Yeah.
But there's also the part where it's like I'm technically not like them, right? Because my parents have a different heritage. I have a different heritage. So when
different
it comes
experience.
to right, so when it comes to like pointing fingers and villainizing them, well, technically they're not talking about Peruvians, even though let's be real, let's do the cop test, right? When the cops come, they're not gonna be like, "Are you Peruvian? Man, put your hands down." No,
right?
But it's that narrative. Well, they're not talking about me, right? But it's also the privilege of being able to be in rooms, and when I do advocate for Mexican artists, they can't tell me, "Oh, you're just saying that because you're Mexican."
Yeah.
And that's been the cool part, because there has been times where, you know, when I worked in tech where it's like, oh, and I've really had this happen. Someone was like, oh, can we stop featuring Mexican artists? And I was like, no, we can't, because they are on fire, especially right now. This is momentum alone. Yeah. Why would I do that? But it's like they felt comfortable enough to say that because I wasn't Mexican, and they thought they were being objective. But because I'm not Mexican, I'm like so objective about it. It makes a greater point. You know,
do you think it's fair to say like Mexican artists, or do you think they have that US tie, like they're Mexican American artists? Because, you know, like even that, I have friends that are from San Diego and they identify as Chicana, Chicano, like they have a very different
and that's a
connection.
Whole different culture too.
It's a whole different culture. Like even talking about subcultures, and Mexico is huge. Let's talk about it. Like Mexico is huge. So even within Mexico, there's like El DF, like folks from the capital versus folks from like Oaxaca or Sinaloa. Like they've educated me on how vast Mexican culture is and how it's not this one dimensional either of like, this is how the U.S. perceives and commercializes Mexican culture, but Mexico culture is so big. It's so vast.
Right. I think there is something to say about the Mexican-American identity, right? And I mean, this is again, hey, I'm talking from a place of privilege because I'm an ally, a friend of, because it's like I have a Peruvian-American experience, which is a little bit different because I do really feel like the farther you are from the border, the more resources and education you probably need to get across it. So there's a
That's
different...
real.
There's like, for example, this is like a little segue, like, when you're around Peruvian, so voting is compulsory. So if you are a Peruvian and an extranjero, you have to vote. So they will set up polling booths, voting booths.
Really? Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't know that. And you have to
vote. So Peruvians are very politically inclined. That's not to say that other cultures aren't, but for Peruvians, they will talk to you about politics. They will talk to you about politics. They will talk to you about Peru all day long. And potatoes. Like... that we are the number one ambassadors of our people, our potatoes, and our politics. And so...
the peas.
The peas.
The three peas. And now the Pope.
And now people keep debating about like nationality versus ethnicity. Well, it's in your heart. And I'm like, okay, fine. You know what? We'll take it. And so
You don't claim him?
I think that I love that he's doing the work in Peru. But like, ethnically speaking, he's not. He's a guy from Chicago that went to Peru. So... when people are like, well, he represents Chiclayo, that city of Peru. I'm like, he's from Chiclago. So
Chiclago is
Chiclago.
I'm dead.
So, but I appreciate like it's a great move for I mean to represent the people and everything. And like when you understand people when you live amongst them, right? And he's there for like 40 years. So shout out to him and my friend Trumpet Papi, who's a Peruvian trumpet player out of Chicago, will probably listen to this and be like, oh, see, I told you he's Peruvian. So. There's a whole debate about it, but so when it comes to you're talking about Mexicans and Mexican American identity, right? I think that there is a very big difference in experience. If you see it in the music, right? So before Latin
and that's
pop,
what I was interested in. How does it represent itself in its music?
Right. And I think it's changing now, but I will say up until very recently, like Latin pop was a dominating force of like most music coming out of Mexico, right? And so even though traditionally Vicente Fernandez would sell out albums, right?
Luis Miguel, like Ricardo Montaner, like all of them.
But they're not the same. So Vicente Fernandez is regional Mexican or música mexicana. Luis Miguel is Puerto Rican.
No, he's not.
Raised in Mexico, and he sings
I thought he was
pop.
Spanish.
Well, who's not Spanish, right?
No, but I thought he was like legit Spanish.
He's Puerto Rican. Well, I think maybe descended, but he's born in Puerto Rico, raised in Mexico. And so he's Sol de Mexico, but he sings pop music. Ricardo Montaner is from Venezuela. He sings Christian pop music.
Now, but he didn't before.
But he never sang regional Mexican.
See, I thought they were all Mexican.
Oh, see,
no, I really did because I'm like, we grew up listening to Mexican music. Like that was just what everyone in Latin America
pop,
did.
Right. And then but if you think about the rock alternativo, it's like Argentina. A lot of it is,
but because everyone went to Mexico to make it.
Because it's a huge market. Yeah, if you can make it in Mexico, you're making it for sure.
Yeah.
But that to say, like, people would overlook Vicente Fernandez or other artists in regional Mexican, which is música mexicana, right? Because regional is technically outdated and not accurate. But you always think about like the Belindas and these other artists that are like Luis Miguel, right? Like these pop artists. And so that to me is representative of like classism happening in Latin America because you have elite white groups that decide what's happening, right? But think about it. Who leaves Mexico to the U.S.? It's usually people that are living in poverty, right? Not all, guys, don't kill me, but like that's what used to happen for a long time. So those people that are impoverished, they leave, just like our parents did, right? That were dealing with political strife or, or U.S. foreign occupation. Just let's be real.
Plus one to that.
1 million. Okay.
Plus 1 million.
And what happens is they come to the U.S. These are poor people. Or people from small towns, or people from Michoacan, or people from small, rural areas.
I love that you're painting this picture. I really do.
And then they come, like Chelino Sanchez was from Michoacan, right?
Yeah.
Please don't kill me, guys. Or was he from Sinaloa? And I'm thinking about Marco Antonio Solis is from Michoacan. So these are like smaller towns.
People grew up with him. All the time. Like Hondurans love him.
Yeah, I'm like, don't kill me, Mexicans. I'm sorry. I think Chelino's from Sinaloa. So they come here, or their children come here, right?
Yeah.
And then they're poor people. I think a lot of people in Latam don't know. They think that when you go al norte or when you're an American, then you have money. I'm like, no, fool. Our parents come here and clean houses.
We are,
and then you have
Gucci,
white people
Gucci
in
bag.
Colombia.
What is it? Third world country with a Gucci belt.
Yeah,
like
Gucci belt. We are
third world country with a Gucci belt. That's America.
That is facts,
right?
And it's starting to peel
with your Gucci on the bus, like.
Yeah, that's true. That's you holding it, white knuckling the purse strap. Yeah. And so it's the children of immigrants, right, that came here, and they didn't come here and were affluent, right? And so they make their own version of music. And so what's interesting is Nathan Elcano really brought in the corridos tumbados era, right? I mean, he's from Sonora, but then a lot of the kids here loved it, right? So you have the opposite kind of happening where it's like now it's blowing up in the U.S., right? And then you have these bands and these groups and these artists that are like they're U.S. homegrown kids. You know, Fuerza Regida's homegrown. They're from San Bernardino. You know?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're from San Bernardino, baby. I'm like, I see it. You know, I can say that because I was born in Palm Springs. Okay. But there's that part of it.
Wow.
And so it's like their experience is very different. You know.
Yeah, but I think that's Latinos in the U.S. we're what the majority minority. We're here, and I think it's beautiful because I often say that my experience as a Latina has been a very pan Latina experience. Like I'm Honduran, obviously very Honduran AF, but I grew up in San Diego, surrounded by Mexican culture, and there's a lot of me that's also part of that. Like I can't identify with them, but I love spicy food. Hondurans don't like spicy food. Yeah. I love eating my tacos. Hondurans don't be eating tacos. Like there's so much of their culture that's in food. But you know what I mean? Like Mexican food, Mexican music, like all of it is part of my experience as a Latina in the US. It's not my culture, but it's part of my experience. And then I go to other places and I'm like, oh, I'm experiencing Puerto Rican culture, Dominican culture. I'm experiencing Mexicans in Texas, completely different. Like my sister-in-law, girl, like my sister-in-law, she's like, you haven't met like a Tejana. Like this is Tejanos. Like, you know, they have a very different culture. So I feel like the experience of Latinos in the U.S. is very pan-Latino, and I feel like you're starting to see it in music. Like the Bad Bunny crossover with Grupo Frontera, is what it is. Like,
and he did a crossover with Nathan Elcano in like 2019.
But what's his other? Cristian Nodal too. Like his, like there's so much crossover that I'm starting to see in music. It's just so beautiful because that's really, I mean, I think that's just the experience of a U.S. Latino.
No, it's true. I mean, you know what's interesting too is so I always used to joke around that like whenever an Urbano Latino song or like a Latin trap or reggaeton song would come out, it was like, okay, who's the primary artist? And it's like 17 other Puerto Ricans, right? They jump on each other's tracks, right?
Yeah.
I don't feel like Colombian music, like the reggaeton coming from Colombia, was doing as well until they started collaborating. So they weren't doing collabs with each other before. It was like Maluma was in his lane, J Balvin was in his lane. J Balvin was going to do stuff with other artists. You know, they would do things here and there, but they never really collabed with each other until later on, and that's when you started seeing it really blow up. You know, and then Colombia really brought in like this new, like, kind of loosened up, kind of more of a pop like reggaeton. You can tell the difference between like the Ginza of J Balvin to like you know, the Bad Bunny songs and all that. You can feel the difference, but I mean it's a different version of reggaeton, right? And some people argue that Colombia is part of the Caribbean. So
yeah, I mean
Barranquilla is part of
I mean, that's the thing is like parts of our countries touch the Caribbean. Like there's a Caribbean side of Honduras, Nicaragua and Guatemala, Belize. Like all of these different countries touch the Caribbean too. It's not a Caribbean country, but it touches the Caribbean.
Yeah, which is why I propose regionalities. Nationalities, not so much. Regionalities, right? Like Peruvians are mostly Andean. You know, there's some Andean people. And one of my friends who has been doing work on like the diaspora and like documenting them, she has this project called Peruvian Archives. Shout out Janice. She talks about how there's not just an immigration story between Peru and the U.S. There's an immigration story of like pueblos and provinces to Lima. Like think about it. You immigrate first from your small town to these major cities, and Lima and Peru has a very big, long history of like abuse of indigenous people in the capitals. Like indigenous women were like having kids and they were like being put up for adoption. I don't know, or they were, you know, like Fujimori, and people might think I've got this wrong, but like one of the reasons why so Fujimori was our Japanese president that we had, because there's a big Japanese community in Peru.
Which is he's amazing history,
it's
by
crazy
the way.
History, yeah. It's amazing food. So he's stamped out terrorism, right? But also like, where in the agenda did it fall that you were going to forcibly sterilize indigenous women? And people are like, well, no, you don't understand. They were getting pregnant.
I mean, there was a Mayan genocide that happened, and people forget about it. They don't talk about it in Guatemala, and it's like that happened in recent history, and they still face adversity in Guatemala.
Yeah, so I didn't even know that. See, so it's like, okay, well, where in this agenda of like you're helping against like terrorism did you decide to like loop that one in there, and why would you do that? Yeah, and that brings me to my point of like, is that neoliberalism in the U.S. and in LATAM where you're bringing like these pseudo kind of heroes of politics, and they also do like crazy shit against indigenous people, and we don't talk about it.
Yeah, and we don't talk about it. We just kind of keep going.
Or we just leave to the U.S.
Or we just leave it to the U.S.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? You talking about Peruvians being politically inclined. It's funny because in my family, I feel like we avoid the topic. And it's like, like my dad used to always tell us, like, esta tierra de gringos, like, this is not our lands. Like, leave it to them. And like, he would always say that. And he didn't say it in a way of like, oh, just be passive, put your head down. He said it more in a way of like, they're not going to ever care about us. So like, ¿por qué ponerle bola? Like, just pray. Yeah. And now I'm like older and I'm like, papi, what do you mean just pray? Like, ¿qué te pasa?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of feel like that right now.
Yeah.
Because right now where I'm at is like, listen, I'm waiting for white people to elevate and like to mobilize and do what they need to do to get each other in line. Like somebody mentioned on TikTok, they were like, the South Bronx.
Miss Rachel, shout out.
I heard about that, but someone on TikTok was like, yo, people that are coming from other states or flyover states are coming to New York, and they're trying to call South Bronx Sobro. He's like, I need you to go back to like Ohio or wherever, Sobro. And he's like, obviously people that are more liberal are like trying to leave those conservative pockets, leave those old family members behind to come to communities of color. And they don't mean to gentrify, but they gentrify it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, why don't you go and stay and do the work?
Yeah.
You know?
But you hear a lot of people that want to run away. Like, that was the first thing I heard, like, oh, so you want to run away because the country that you're in is, you know, the politics.
The county that you're in.
The county that you're in, the politics you don't agree with. That's exactly why Latinos immigrate.
Right. Except we didn't have a choice.
Except we didn't have a choice. Yeah. And there was
Peru
infiltration.
was one of very few places that wasn't directly destabilized by the U.S., but like, I mean, Colombia was, El Salvador, Honduras. Like, you telling me that you guys destabilized a bunch of people over bananas?
Girl, don't get me started on bananas.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, don't get me started. And then if you sell the American dream, right? If you sell the American dream and you profit off of it globally because people venerate that, then congratulations, you're getting immigrants.
And you're gonna get a bunch of them.
And honestly, good for you. You know what? This is moments like the following are when I'm like, there's no way people can be against this. When I get sick, I go and get pho. I go out to Vietnamese folks. I grew up with the Vietnamese people in San Diego.
Yeah.
Every time it slaps, I'm like, I can't believe people have a problem with this.
Yeah.
I want to know about all kinds of shit that they use to like get better, or their foods or people. Super like, I did not grow up with white people in high school until I was in college. Like, you know, I mean, I'm cool. I have a lot of white homies, but like, and they help me a lot with finances and stuff too. Business and finances.
Gotta learn.
Yeah, you know, I hired a leadership coach as a white woman.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. You gotta know how they move.
I was gonna say I had a white woman as a mentor, and she, bless her soul, she helped me negotiate my salary. Had no idea. I was like, I was cool with what they were offering me. She's like, no, you need to ask for more. And I'm like, this is the kind of audacity I need.
Yeah, for real. Oh my God, the one.
But she told me that. She's like, yes, you do.
Mine asked me why I wasn't as far ahead as my boss's boss. I was like, ma'am, he is a 34-year-old white man from Australia. He's 6 foot something. Are you kidding me? He's about to run for president. They're going to change the rules so he's president next. But you got to remind him sometimes. Like, it's a little different. I feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
My ESL is coming out.
Real. I want to ask you about you starting your own business. Because you were working at Apple. You were working at TikTok. You were leading these teams. You were leading music.
Teams of myself, man. Okay. Well, and because in big tech, it's actually hard to like get like the buy-in from to be like to be a manager in tech is actually a big deal.
Yeah.
Those are things that I now learn. And just looking back on it too, I think back on like my time at Apple, for example, I was there for 5 years, and then TikTok, and I'm like, man, I had so much energy, like anyone could catch the smoke. Ooh, when I was at TikTok, because I started when I was 27 as an intern, I was like so bright-eyed and bushy-tailed doing things and like mobilizing, and I'm like, yo, like I was doing that the same 24 hours a day. That's
Girl.
Crazy. But
and now?
So I had to start my own business, and it's funny, I was feeling stressed lately too, and I was like, man, I keep eating. And it was because now that you have your own business, you have to build everything yourself, you know? And so now I'm like, okay, if I want to send a proposal, I have to build the deck and do everything. and template. And so my friend / ex,
which I love this story.
I know he's like,
he's a homie.
He's a homie. He's around. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
I don't know, guys. We'll circle back in 6 months. I'll let you know. He was like, why don't you just templatize everything? I'm like, I haven't built the templates.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. I had to think about like the brand changes, and then I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I went out with that deck. That deck sucks. But yes, so technically on my mom's side, and maybe my dad's, I'm a 3rd generation small business owner. So her dad had a small business in Peru. He was like a welding company and all that, and some other, I mean, get rich quick schemes and Peruvians. That's 100 Peruvians and being employed by somebody other than themselves. And so my mom and dad had a small business together, and my dad actually grew it to 3 branches after they divorced, and then he sold it to a family friend.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm like, she just sold it for a bunch of money too. I'm like, it must be nice, Dad. We could have kept that in the family.
That part.
Dang.
That part.
But my mom is kind of a renegade in that, like, she had she became a paralegal when I was like 4. So she had her AA.
Oh, she ended up doing it.
She ended up doing it. Yeah, doing everything she could. She worked for a judge for a while. She like can translate. She does paralegal, real estate, taxes. Peruvians are like 1 degree away from being lawyers and accountants all the time.
Yeah.
So she actually does taxes for people at Apple.
So you missed the mark.
I know, me too. I got to mention something else. And so she started her business, and I thought one day I would start my business. And I had so many good ideas. I remember telling David, my ex, I was like, man, like, I don't know why I just like want to do something so bad. And he's like, it's in your blood. I was like, oh,
it is.
Yeah. I was like, dang, you know what? Maybe you're right. And so I had all these ideas. I really had an idea of, I wanted to buy this like old Volkswagen and paint it like pearl white and then put a big veil on it and rent it out for weddings.
I love it.
I want to do that.
That's a great
so
idea.
Cute. A big like 7-foot veil and just
put
that on that. Yeah, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, do it.
I need to find.
You heard it here first.
I know, right?
But what kept you in like Apple? Is it because it's just big tech? Like it's comfortable.
I never thought I'd work at Apple. Like I was, and that's something for the brown girls for sure. Like
100%.
Like I didn't think I'd work at Apple. I was not good in math. You know, I thought you could only go there as an engineer. And so when I ended up interning there and seeing the business side and the music side and working with Latin music and just learning that like you can project manage, you can learn so many things. I was doing label relations, so working a lot with like labels and just like, what do you have coming? This is what we have for you. Where in the ecosystem can we place you? I mean, when you go to an Apple store, on the iPads, like that's programmed on purpose. Like there's nothing accidental. So something's gonna be J Balvin. That was a huge deal if like J Balvin's gonna be on this like iPad in all those retail stores. Or if like, the next time there's a symposium or a, WWDC, the Worldwide Developers Conference, if they're showing like new, MacBooks and there's like, I don't want to say Katy Perry, Kylie Minogue, that's like, you had a pitch for that. And the marketing team sees that as like a big value.
I didn't know that.
There's a huge ecosystem where you can plug and play these artists and these like big partnerships, like Ted Lasso, can be like on all the retail spaces. So we would fight for that. And it was like Bad Bunny or, Shakira or J Balvin or these huge artists.
Yeah.
And so I was there, and at first I was like, oh man, I'm like the little squeaky brown girl. I'm like, I don't know anything, And then you come out of it and you're like, okay, they are not that smart and you are not that dumb.
You just don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. I mean, there was times in meetings where I'd be like, hey, how about we like put a cap on a bottle? Like that simple. Like, I'm like, wait a second, what if we just do this? And they're like, oh my God, that's amazing. I'm like, really?
Like, really?
Yeah. But in my head, I was like, oh, like, oh my God, what if I'm dumb? What if I'm not this? What if my ACL comes out? Blah, blah, blah. All these things, imposter syndrome or imposter phenomena, as I heard.
Yes.
Because it's not, it happens to us. It's not within us, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're thinking about how they see you versus how you see yourself.
Yeah. The whole like being perceived.
Yeah.
Really blows my mind. Like just having the terminology for what you experience is really powerful.
It is.
Because once you name it, you take its power.
Period.
Yeah.
Power taken.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I learned that in possession movies, but also Latinos over-index in scary movies. We love consumption of scary movies.
Do we? Because not
love
me.
Them. Yeah, we
not
love
I.
It. I don't know why.
I'm like, not
anyway,
I.
I love to study like Latinos and how we act, and then when I learn new facts, I'm like, that we do that.
But you know what? Growing up, my brothers did watch scary movies.
Yeah.
That was their way of bringing the girlfriends around, and then I would be like, I wanted to hang out with them so bad, and I would just be like crying,
freaking out, having nightmares. Yeah. So at Apple, and when I was there, I was like, one day I'll have my own like thing, Yeah. I'm like, maybe when I'm in my 40s or something. And then at TikTok,
40s.
I thought I'd do it in my 40s. I thought like once I clock out of the corporate thing, I'm ready to go. Cause like, again, like I was the first one in my family to really work at these big jobs.
Yeah.
You know, these big corporate jobs. Like I worked at UCSD and then I worked at like these big brands. And I really do believe in like manifestation, but I feel like a lot of people aren't doing it right. Like
say more.
Yeah, so I think a lot of it, I'm gonna call it the LA girlies. It was like, oh, I'm manifesting. Like, oh, like it was the blue moon, and that's why I didn't get the job. Movement for me. Yeah, like blah blah blah. And I'm like, no. The biggest manifestor I know in my life is my mom, and I'm gonna tell you why. This woman, it's the power of like the literal every cell in your being, like wanting and desiring something and working towards it.
Yeah.
You know, like when you want it so bad. You know, and when you want that and you channel it and you're like, this will happen, that's the manifestation. And it's to the point where it makes you scared. Like my mom, when she had me, she was like, I'm going to have 2 daughters. And she's like, when she had my sister first and a couple years later, 4 years later, she had me, she was like, I'm going to give birth on my mom's birthday, right? She's like, I'm going to give my mom this gift of like a baby girl, right? My mom, like, she timed her cycle. She did everything in her power. I mean, it's talking about 1989. Okay, there was no health app. Timed her cycle. She told my dad, like, you either with it or you're not. We don't care. Like, and he had no choice but to stick around. She had me, right? Now I'm going to tell you. So it's my birthday is actually the day after my cousin and my uncle. And what's funny is I think my mom was like cosmically like, I'm going to give birth on my mom's birthday. But no contaba that I was like, me thinks not. So I'm
not sharing my birthday.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you. And you know something crazy. So my grandma's birthday is February 14th. My cousin and my uncle are the 15th. I was born 1:57 a.m. on the 16th. My mom was that close. I just think I put like a cosmic like spur in her way. Because it was like, listen, I'm not going to share my birthday. But also, I can't be born the next day and share with these 2 boneheads. And then on the 15th, and not an odd number, I'll just wait. And I was born sleeping.
Wow.
2 a.m.
You were not sleeping?
I was chilling when it came out. Yeah. So I think there's like a lot to say with like the power of manifestation, right? And like really truly believing and being like, this is going to happen in my life. I'm going to do everything in my power. I'm not just going to sit here and wait for it. Yeah. Like I'm not going to, but it also takes accountability too.
Right.
Yeah. Like when you do it, like I tell people like success is where preparation and opportunity meet. So like you're getting ready to move out somewhere. You don't know where you're going to move next. You better start packing though. But you're going to wait to find out where you're going to live so you can start packing. You better start packing now, you know? And same with like interviews or same with like something else you want to do. Like I told myself when I got to grad school, I'm like, this is funny. I'm not working for an agency. I'm going to work for big brands is what I told myself. And I worked for the LA Rams. I worked for Universal Pictures and I worked for Apple Music. Like I was like, absolutely not. I'm not even going to apply. I'm going to do these things, but I'm going to find out how to do it. And I use LinkedIn. Shameless plug.
Shout out to LinkedIn.
Crazy.
Of course. And we don't go alone.
Tool,
we don't go alone.
I know some people hate it. I was like, oh no, we're doing this. But anytime I needed to find out, who's a recruiter? I need to message them. I need to have my resume ready. I need to do this. I need to do that. You know. So anyway, very long story. But when I was at before I got to TikTok, I was at Apple for 5 years, right? And at the time, it was like September of that year. And it was the first time I got COVID, too, which is crazy, like 2 years into the whole thing. And I was like going through my own version of stuff. And I was like, you know what? That's it. And I was like, by the end of this year, I will have a new job. But I said it with so much, like, it scared me. I was like, conviction. Oh, shit, it's September. Who's going to get a job? Like, at the end of the year, you know, everyone knows that you pick up on jobs or jobs pick up really in, like, the top of the year. I started at TikTok December 12th. Like, I, like, moved fast. And I was like, oh, no, I'm leaving because I'm leaving. Me voy porque me voy, you know? Yeah. So I was there for almost 2 years. And when I was there, I just felt like I wasn't aligned with the mission the way I thought I would be. You know, like, I think, like, it's an incredible tool. I think it's a beautiful time right now for, like, especially Latin consumers. You know, for every $1 spent in the U.S. on TikTok Shop, a quarter spent by a Latin user.
Of course. You know? U.S. Latinos can be their own, what is it, our GDP?
Yeah, we could be our own state, man.
We can be our own state.
We just need to get
sleeping on ourselves.
So bad. That's why I'm like, why do we buy, like, Skims and shit that's not for us?
Truly.
Yeah, no.
Buy from Latino businesses.
Buy from, like, actual, like, Latinos that be part of the community, too.
Community.
Like, I'm not doing no weird, non-supportive Latinos.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, the 30% of us that voted.
Yeah.
And the 60% of our boys that voted, I'm like, I'm not supporting you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our boys. We'll talk about our boys later.
Yeah.
But I love this transition of like you from Apple Music to TikTok to now starting your own thing, because now you're taking all the things that you've learned and now you're putting it into something that's yours, and you're still helping Latino artists.
Yeah. So yes, now
And
let's get to the business part.
And you broke the internet.
And we broke TikTok for a second.
The TikTok internet.
With the TikTok internet, the TikTok web. So basically, when I was the top of 2024, I was like, man, I'm gonna leave this company. Like, I don't know where I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna leave it, right? I think power of manifestation and the power of acceptance too. So I go to Colombia in May of last year, and I was talking to some friends, and I'm like, you know what? I don't know what I'm gonna do next or where I'm gonna go. I just know I really need some time. And I never said that. I've been working since I was 17. You know, how old were you when you started working?
Bro, I was like, working like 13.
Yeah.
And then,
I mean, like little odd jobs, 15, 16,
yeah,
but like
no.
little first official job.
First official job. Yeah, I was 17.
Yeah.
17, 18.
Yeah. Some people were like, oh, I want to take the summer before senior year off. I was like, I'm trying to get some money because I'm going to pay for these college applications.
Yeah.
And so I've been working for like more than half my life. Like,
yeah,
it was a little crazy. And so it was the first time that I was like, I think I need a rest. Like, I've been burnt out for years. I'm like nervous system crazy all the time.
Yeah.
And it was funny because literally like within 2 days of saying that, I had already had my business on the side. I had decided I'm going to start like a little LLC, just keep it running on the side. It was the hardest part of a business is naming it.
Girl.
But once you name it, you take the power back.
Yeah. Once you name it, you're like, okay, on to other things.
Yeah. How long did it take you to name your podcast?
Girl, I'm impulsive too.
Oh, really?
So I didn't think about it too much. I did, but I was like, I went through like 4 or 5 iterations, and then I was finally like, I just want something hella Latina. And then the producer that I was working with at the time, he's like, that's a great name. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, cool. Just do it.
Sometimes you got to let it rip.
Just take it. No, literally. I was like, Latina AF. Latinos Unidos. Latino.
Oh, yeah, you don't want to make it feel too crazy, and then
it's like too corporate, and then I'm like, I just want something that feels like hella Latino. And then
if you mention food, fuiste, it's the fucking
no fuiste, cabecito y chisme. I said, I'm like, all the things,
no,
but
so
yeah.
No, so I sat with it for a week or two, and I decided to name it. So I was like, okay, what I really want to do, and it's like, well, it's about ideas, it's about the ideation of things, it's about the strategy, right, the overall. And so I was like, okay, I want the word creative in there somewhere. Right? I was like fixated on like creative, even though creative really means like the actual assets and stuff, the shit that I don't do because I don't have a graphic design like background, and I'm like, oh shit, I have to like push this out. But I was like, okay, I want creative to be in there. And then I thought about it, and I was like, well, what am I really trying to do, right? And what am I trying to envision? So I thought about it. I'm like, okay, like what I really want is for Latinos to like stand up and take their seat at the table.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a huge global table, and we are part of it. You know, but there's no action and there's no ownership because we don't even know that we can do this sometimes. You know, I was watching the Vanessa Guillen documentary, and within the first 5 minutes it said Latinos are a sleeping giant in the U.S.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think we know how powerful we are and how much power we do have in our everyday. Like, how many women don't know that, like, no, actually you don't have to go and start having kids at 17. Actually, you don't have to care about what your brothers and your uncles and your dad think. You know, actually you can learn how to drive, you know, like how many of us we're so mentally conditioned, you know? And so I was like, I would love to just have like us as like a giant stand up and take our seat at the table is what I really visualized. And so I was like, well, what am I trying to do? I'm really trying to bring forth that. Yeah. And that's when I thought about Evoke, because it's like you're bringing forth that presence into the conversation, or you're evoking a demon. But
let's not manifest that. Take it back.
Yeah, that's what I was like, or you're doing that. But all to say, like, that's what I thought about. I'm like, okay, so we're going to name it Evoke Creative Agency.
Yeah.
Let it rip, you know, like my mom helped me file for the LLC. And I started on the side. And so I was kind of like taking some clients here and there, strategy, figuring that out. How do I invoice? What do I do? And then in May, I had that like, I guess, revelation that like, oh, I need time. Like, I need to just rest. And 2 days later, I got laid off. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I got laid off, but 2 months ahead.
God will tell you, he'll yell at you. Like,
and the thing is, you know what it is? I think God was like, I don't even think he was like, oh, like you said it, now you got it. I think he's like, girl, I was planning this for you, but I'm glad you see it now because I didn't want you to take another 6 months to ask me why.
Yeah.
You know, why? He was like, oh, you bet. You're ready, you know?
Bet.
Yeah, because think about it. Let's say I didn't understand what I needed and it would take me 2, 3, 4 months extra. I'd be sitting there wasting time.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, shit, I needed some time. And so I went into that conversation and they were like, hey, yeah, look, in 2 months, your 3 roles that I basically was covering is going to be eliminated, and then you're going to get paid out for a few more months. I basically got the gift of time.
You did. Yeah.
Who gets to say that?
Yeah.
You know? And so I was like, oh my God, this is God telling me to
It's about the way you look at it, because there's some people that would be like, oh, I got laid off, and it'd be the worst thing that ever happened to them, and you saw it as an opportunity. That's why I always tell people your purpose cannot be tied to a system. It cannot be tied to a corporation.
Exactly.
Like if your purpose is independent from it, you'll always find your way back. Yeah. Always.
And it's great that you say that. It's very interesting too. I have a friend who was laid off like a year before me, and she took it really hard. And there was a lot of anxieties. There was a lot of like questions up in the air, a lot of bills to pay. And she has this amazing talent. You know, she does production and all these other things and has a great experience. But I think that the anxiety of like, where's my next paycheck going to come from? And, you know, I'm doing these odd jobs and I'm interviewing, but
we're functioning in a capitalistic society. Like it makes sense.
She's not doing well, right?
Yeah.
I see it as like, oh, it's a freelancer's market.
Yeah.
This is perfect, the perfect time. And there's nobody that has an expertise in US Latin that is freelancing or free, that is worked in big tech, that can understand TikTok and the digital market.
This is why it's all about the mindset. And it's, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing and who are you doing it for?
Exactly. And I was like, oh, this is the time right now. So I spent those 2 months within the walls of TikTok letting people know, hey, please make sure you schedule best practices with me. I'm going to teach you about what you're missing, but I'm also going to tell you what I'm up to next.
Yeah.
And that was great. And then we were able to launch a huge campaign with Shakira and Peso Pluma before I left.
Wow.
And I was like, cool,
I remember
we're
that.
done. Yeah. I was like, we're done. I'm leaving. I took my dog on a massive road trip through like Lake Tahoe and like, you know, Yosemite and Sequoia. And then I started getting to work. Yeah. You know, so now the latest things that we're doing, I've been talking about it since last April, since I was an employee still. We've been talking with the teams of like, what are we going to do? You know, which artists can we work with? How does this new ecosystem, right? Like, how does this new e-commerce model apply, and how can it serve artists, music artists in general, but especially Latin artists, because those are usually at the tail end of hearing about anything. You know, like you can't make it illegal. It's not legal to discriminate against people, but you can make it very hard for them to get access to the knowledge on how to use those tools. Yeah. That's basically how everything is, right? Yeah. Like, sure, people don't know that, you know, California coastlines are public property at the beaches, right? And you can go there. But if you put a hotel right in front of it and you block it off with all these umbrellas, people don't know that they can use the fancy beaches that everyone else is using.
Real.
Right?
Real.
That's facts.
So you're trying to bridge the gap between the opportunity and
Occupy
the
community.
beaches.
No kidding. Yeah, what I'm trying to do is like provide, like close the gap of knowledge and access that like Latin artists specifically, but
and I think that's
artists.
why we're the sleeping giant, though. It's just that we just don't know. Like we don't have access. Anyway. We're not in the rooms. We're not in the spaces, and like people. I think sometimes we lose our people too. Like Latinos get into the space and then we just lose them. And it's like, no, come back to the hood. Like bring it back, bring that knowledge back to our people. And once we do, we can start to wake up. And we can start to be like, huh, okay, that's how you do this. Or that's how you do that. That's what you're doing essentially, is you're letting them know. Yeah. I'm trying to wake up the beast. Like,
I'm like, hey, exactly. And that's what I did recently. So it's funny, a shout out to one of my friends that works at shop. Before I left, he had come up to me and he was like, hey, there's this group called Fuerza Regida. Do you know about them? I was like, do I know about them? I've been championing them for years. Like, they were my first campaign at TikTok, and, you know, since they were doing, like, their other stuff. And he's like, I'd love to get them set up on Shop. I'd love to get them set up with Live. And at the time, it was like, what are you talking about? Like, QVC, Home Shopping Network? What do you mean? Yeah. And so it took a year of ideation and talking with them and getting a hold of this one, not this one, this other one, WhatsApps. 2 days later getting responses at 2 a.m. and then being like, what's going on? Who is this? You know? And finally I had a moment in February where I was like, oh, I know their lawyer. He's super cool. I know him. So I reached out to him. I was like, hey, do you mind connecting me with Fuerza's team again? It's been a while since I talked to them. And they're like, he's like, oh my God, for sure. I got in touch with someone on their team, And he's like, I've been literally thinking about ways to like push this next project, Expantia, which means manifestation in Nahuatl.
Wow.
Yeah. And at the time I didn't know the name though. And I was like, oh, well, let's have a conversation. And so like I drove all the way to Rancho Cucamonga, and which people don't know is a real place.
And it's a real place.
It's not just from the Next Friday movie. I drove out there and I was like, this is like a new thing. It's new for us, but outside the US, live stream shopping has been a thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And before, if you remember the 90s, we would jump on the phone and QVC with those señoras would sell rings and stuff. And you can do like a zoom in of me, like, you know. But it's back now. And I think other entities have tried to do it, but they haven't done it successfully. Or just they couldn't get buy-in from enough of a clientele. So it's back now. How do we harness that algorithm to help you? You know? Some artists have done it kind of, right? Like Tay McRae has done like her concert sponsored by Neutrogena, and they would run her shop during. But like, how do we do it where it's a massive live, where it's a couple of hours and it's programming and it's involving the whole like Street Mob Records ecosystem and their artists? I mean, they have a massive ecosystem. They have so many artists that are super talented, like Clave Especial, Calle 24, Chino Pacas, who signed with Drake to Interscope. Like,
not Drake. Just kidding.
But incredible, right? That you
yeah,
get an
it's
artist
incredible.
that, you know, and they have all these like creators and everything that they're friends with, and it's like, how do you bring value to that in a new e-commerce way, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like thinking about the future, but it's like we're already behind. Like the music
And that's the project
industry.
that you just did.
So that's the project we just did. So we basically launched Expantia Live. It was a 2.5-hour live series on TikTok. It started with Augusto Papa, the podcast. Those guys are great. So they opened up, they hosted it. They talked a lot about the box sets. The box sets had like either a hat or a shirt and then the signed album. So we were selling the albums during this live. And then we had a couple of creators that would come on. And then for anyone that doesn't know, they have a songwriter named Tuyin. And Tuyin's like masked. And so they unmasked Tuyin, but it was actually Odette, who was like a massive TikTok creator from Mexico. So we had this like huge rush of people watching the live in anticipation. And then Fuerza Regida came on and they performed the first song off their album Godfather. So,
wow.
Yeah, we ran it up, and so we ended up having one of the most registered lives to date. So one of the most
on the whole
users
platform.
from the whole platform globally.
Wow.
Right. So we hit like
shout out to Latinos.
Shout out to you. Shout out to, I'm like, whew. And that was like, so it was like thousands, tens of thousands of registered users. We sold over or close to 2,000 albums.
Wow.
Physical albums.
From that live?
And over 200,000 viewers.
Wow.
Yeah. And so the reason, so the connectivity is tough. What's funny is...
But you're bridging that gap. You're
well,
bridging
the literal internet.
The literal... Oh.
But what's funny is, what's crazy is we had this really freak, like 5-minute rain shower that happened at the warehouse that we did.
Wow.
And it was like, I'm like, is someone doing like a rain dance up in here? Someone playing the album, you know? So like learnings for next time, but it was like this incredible thing. And it was funny because people were like, Joby broke TikTok, blah, blah. Cause it was like, you know, it would kind of like switch up.
Yeah.
But it's like, this is what they do with like days of promotion.
Yeah.
We didn't have weeks to promote it. We were, you know, we were figuring it out and testing as we went. And I'm just like, this is, and it's majority men that are buying, like unseen, right? Because everyone knows that when it comes to shop, it's women. Right? Like
this. And it was men. All the men pulled up.
Yeah, the men pulled up and were like, get some albums for your tia and your mom and your sister. But it goes to show you that like there's a ton of power behind like these Mexican artists, and specifically Fuerza Regida, who's like having the best year ever. Yeah. And their story needs to be shared with others and exposed to other markets. Yeah. But also, like always, when you're in these big tech spaces, you have to advocate for them. You know, you have to be like the one that's like, hey, this is a big deal and this is why, you know, and it's one part data, one part guts, you know? And
that's a bar. One thing I want to say before we end is you are really bridging this gap between culture and technology. And this is what I mean. This is what I envision for a lot of us that are first gen, that are able to enter into these spaces that we are traditionally left out of, but we're going in there and we've been going in there, but you're bringing it back to the people. And you're bridging these gaps that these corporations say they want to bridge, but do they? I don't think they do.
I don't think they do either. I think they want our money, but they just don't want to.
They want our money.
They want us to go to them.
Exactly.
And I pose the question like, well, if traditionally marketing is supposed to find the audience, why is marketing not reaching us where we're at?
Exactly. And this is why I'm manifesting more people like you that are like, let me go back to the community and let me actually do this right. Because these companies are not doing it right. And they want us in the rooms to validate what they think, but they don't really care about what really, really matters and how to really reach our people. They really don't. They just want the money. And they know that U.S. Latinos, we pop in. They know.
Yeah, I think
and they're like, that's a good market for us.
Exactly. Once a lot of us realize like, oh, I don't have to spend money on this, or like, I don't have to, it doesn't have to be this way.
It doesn't have to be this way.
That's when like the tide will shift. But I think that it's always a refreshing moment to talk about Latinos and to be like, this is how we shop, this is where we're at, and we're hella loyal.
We are.
Yeah, I mean,
so loyal.
If your grandma loved a certain type of detergent, your mom likes it.
Fabuloso,
like it.
Fabuloso every generation.
Yeah. And it's like, imagine if these companies and these brands just started seeing like the value of it and just seeing us as like not as a monolith, right? Like, there's so many of us that we do want to spend money. They just don't know how we want to spend it.
But we just need us. We need us in the rooms, and we need us in the space, and we need to not forget where we come from, because there's power in where we come from. And this is exactly why we need to tell our stories, and why we need our people to tell our stories. Like, more for us, by us.
That's true.
That's what I'm manifesting. Yeah. My last question to you is, what do you want to manifest, truly manifest, for our Latino community? Ooh. You talk about manifesting. I know, people doing it wrong.
Manifesting. I'm like, let me rub my hands a little bit. Let me. For Latinos.
Every cell in your body. What did you say? Every cell in your body.
Oh, yeah. You have to bring it forth. You know, for like Latinos globally, or the U.S. ones?
Let's talk about the U.S. ones.
The U.S. ones, because those are like the ones that I love, and I'm like always trying to champion.
You don't like the ones in Latam?
Yeah, the Latam ones, they don't like me sometimes. No, kidding. No, I think it's because
the US, don't get me started on trauma.
Because U.S. Latin is such a unique market.
Oh, unique.
It's such a unique market. You really have such a, I would. Like, honestly, like I've spent a little time watching some of the younger ones, and like even in my neighborhood, and you know, kind of how they are sometimes. And I'm like, and just on TikTok, like the ones that I have interacted with, or that I've triggered sometimes, and like I really wish like from the bottom of my heart that like there was more access to like actual formalized like education and like what really happens in the U.S., like history, like ethnic studies, like political science, like there's so many smart kids that I grew up with that like, they had some access, but not all. And I was able to go to college and figure it out. Right. And I have dad for sure. But I'm like, dang, I really wish these kids had the experiences that like, or the education that I was able to get. And I know that's so privileged. And I hate that, because I feel like education is a human right. You know, and I just want every like
real education.
Exactly. Like talking to their elders and like people that are like us that like went to college and did what we had to do. And like you don't have to accept anything as it is, like you can move on, you can do whatever you want. You can move on from here. You can go somewhere else. You can live in like Japan if you want to. You can do whatever it is. You don't have to be stuck in like what you see, and I just feel like
it's a colonial mindset. It's go to school, sit in the seat, be still, do not make any noise, like do not pay attention and do what they say and do as they say. It's that colonial mindset. It's teaching us, and a lot of brown kids struggle with it because that's not. A lot of us are creative or artists or engineers or we have other interests.
Have the bandwidth to like explore that and just and that's why I tell like my nephews and my niece, I'm like, yes, you're gonna hate going to college, sure, more school, but I'm like, just give yourself the chance. Yeah. Just give yourself the chance to like go. I had a cousin who didn't want to go to college, didn't want to do anything, and I was like, listen, in Alaska, this is like 10 years ago, I'm like, in Alaska, they will fly you out there, you will work on a fishing boat all summer, they will give you like room and board. Just do it. You don't have no kids. You ain't got no job. You ain't got nothing else to do.
Just do it.
Just do it. Like, why do we not see ourselves as global citizens too? And I know that's a privilege thing because of the passports and where you're born and everything. But like, how many times have you said no to something just because it's impulsive to say no? Like how many times has it been like, hey, let's go to, Tulum. And it's like, no, I can't go to that. And it's like, well, why not? Well, actually, technically I can budget and I can do this. Yeah. But it's almost like that sense of like, I'm just going to say no because it's a no. It's a no. Everything's a no.
Scarcity. Yeah.
I guess it is part of that too, And I'm just like, dude, dream a little bit. Like go get educated in whatever way you can.
It's never been safe enough to. So now it's like, and that's your manifestation. You want more education and also more access.
Relate yourself. Yeah. I think working through that now, I'm like, you know what? Like, I just want all of them to really dream more.
Period.